This is the Vale Renegades podcast brought to you by Nick and Sam from the local Vale Renegades club at Firestorm. We are the new hosts for the podcast and we will be talking about everything 10th edition as well as upcoming events and things happening in the club. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to another Vale Renegades podcast. I am joined as usual by my host, Sam. How's it going, dude?
Yeah, all very well, thank you. It's really exciting topics to talk about today, particularly coming out of Brothers in Arms last week. But yeah, all well. How are you doing?
I am fine. I haven't suffered what I would call land flu. Other members of our community have suffered from Brothers, but yeah, doing good, dude. It was a great event, and we're going to go deep dive into it for this podcast.
Very well. And I suppose the special shout out for today is that we're both running on some new equipment at home, aren't we? So hopefully for one I sound a bit better, but you're loving your new computer as well, I think.
Yeah, new systems for both of us. So the podcast is doing well, right? We've just got these new systems.
Yeah, our podcasts are doing so well that we're drawing in so much additional revenue that we've upgraded. That's not true, but yeah.
So yeah, we're going to touch on Brothers in Arms. This is a premium team event for 40k in South Wales, Cardiff, run by the Vale Renegade Club. We had an amazing turnout, probably, I think most people would agree, the strongest turnout we've ever had from a competitive standpoint. And we had quite a few Renegade teams playing, as well as some of our friends from the Ronda, Newport Games Club, competing as well. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. But to start things off, let's just have a talk about our own teams, I suppose. Do you want to run us through your team and tell us what you'd like about it?
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that myself and some others, one of our biggest takeaways from the event was this awful cold that I am still struggling with. So if there are periods of snotty noises and coughing, I apologise and I will trust Nick's editing capabilities to remove a lot of it. But just as a heads up for everyone listening. One of the Vale Renegade teams, myself, John, Pete and James, they were the four of us. We had a little bit of a rocky experience just towards the beginning of the event. Unfortunately, due to some personal circumstances, we did have to do a very, very last minute change of player and also a few changes of factions on the back of that. So safe to say that probably wasn't the experience that us as a group or as a team were expecting of an event, but in terms of how it went in the games we played, we all had a great time and a great experience, as we always do in the Vale Renegade teams events. And I think that's probably, in a very high level summary, our experience. Our motley crew of players got paired into some particularly good teams, and I think we all as players bettered ourselves and improved and appreciated the challenge. And not to sort of big ourselves up too much, but I think I think we did a good showing for ourselves, and we did all right, all things considered.
Yeah, but, definitely.
But you too had some challenges, didn't you? And I think your biggest challenge was your first round pairing, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we had Team Ignite as our first round pairings, and I think it might actually be good to talk about this kind of competition that we were facing at this tournament. So the previous Brother in Arms, we were on the same team, and we came third, correct? Was it that event we came third?
I think we came third in all of our events, Nick. But yes, it was one of our many events we came third in.
Yeah, so we came third, and I want to say either Sternguard or Vanguardians came second, and Andy's Vale team came first. So that was last year, and that kind of gave you a good idea of kind of like the competition of last year's event. They were the top three placings. But then you go into this year, and you have some teams coming all the way to Cardiff. We had Ignite, So that includes David Gaylard, Boris, Mikev. Sorry if I butchered your name, Boris, if you're listening. Chris Ratford, I want to say, and Lewis Smith. That's what I've got down here on Tawny Keeper. So if you don't know who Ignite are, they're probably the best non-national team in the UK, maybe Europe. I would probably go as far to say Europe, considering their roster. So they didn't have some of their kind of big names with them. They had some of their other teammates, and this is no slight on their other teammates in terms of popularity, but a lot of people know who Vic Vijay is, Liam VSL, for example, like those two, Brian Sipe, I think I've pronounced that correctly. Like, those names are quite big in the national 40k scene, so that gives you kind of an idea of their caliber. And then, speaking of caliber, we had Extinguish, which I'm just going to call Glasshammer. I know it's a play on the Ignite, which had like Manny Chima, Ed Watts, who I believe won Tony's singles event, the last 9th edition Tony single event. He played Andy in the finals, Will Whitaker, and they had another player, but it's not on Tawny Keeper. So, Manny Chima coming here, one of the top players within the UK. And then finally, Checker Balls, or also known to us, we just call them Art of War, Team England. You had Matt Robinson, Tom Higginbottom, Mark Pinkleton, and John. I don't know his surname, but that is a very high caliber of players coming to our event. They're the highest we've ever had at our teams. So big names, gives you a good idea of kind of what we were going up against.
Yeah, for sure. And it was exciting as well, though, right? We've seen over the last couple of years, I guess, where I've been involved, where it's very much same people, I guess. I know that's not necessarily the case, and I'm not 100% there. It's just, we've seen Vanguardians, we've seen Sterngard before. We obviously have the Vale Renegade teams that we're part of ourselves, and a lot of the Ronda lads and others as well. So I guess what I'm trying to get is there was not just a step up in the terms of skill that attended this event, but also these people are new to our events as well. So there was a lot of newness too, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, to be honest. But you're right. It wasn't the brothers we knew from last year. That's for sure. Not only in terms of player quality, we have our strong members from the Vale, like Rhonda, and then we have kind of the guys across the pond in Bristol who come, but having kind of national talent like Manny Chima and like David Gaylard bring teams, Matt Robinson bring teams who are also a sponsor of the event. Art of War also sponsored the event. That just goes to show like how much not only the club's grown, but also our events are growing. And we had some comments actually on the Fireside podcast that escaped me for a moment. That's David Gaylard and Vic Vijay's podcast, and David actually said that Firestorm venue was the best venue he's ever played at, and it really just goes to show how lucky we are to be able to have that as our local club. I think this tournament is the kind of the inciting incident, you would call it in storytelling. I'm trying to think of a better word. The inciting incident for our club to kind of start pushing more and more. I wouldn't be surprised that Echoes is just going to be a stacked, and I'd be a bit disappointed if it wasn't. Now that everyone's come to Firestorm and gone, oh my days, this is amazing.
It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through top 8 here. I think we'll do top 8, and I'll just mention a few others as we go down. So 8 to 1. At 8th place we had Crump or Dice Trying. Now, I believe they might have come to us some other events in the past, but my memory escapes me here. 7th place was Vale Renegades Mystery Machine, which was Andy, John, McCarthy, Gareth Lane, and myself. Mind Goblins +++. I've seen Mind Goblins around a few times at different events, so they came in 6th. Checker Balls, which had Matt Robinson on it from Art of War, Tom Higginbottom from Team England, or I think he's applying for Team in England at least. He was at Battle of Britain. Vanguardians of the Galaxy coming in at 4th place. Usual crowd of Aaron, Rowan, and co. Staying Guard Fat Tits coming at 3rd with Liam, Jake, which is great. They came 3rd. Extinguish, which you mentioned, Manny Chima's team, and then Ignite, which was David Gaylord's team. So that was top 8. Among them as well, we had Rhonda Renegade Fossils, which is Paul Everby's team, coming in at 11th, and that had Geraint in it, who plays Guard, and who's very regular at our Rumble events. Xenos and Friends, which are the Newport Club, with the inclusion of Bryn, who came in to replace one of their drops. So good on Bryn for entering. He's been competing kind of around on the national level quite a bit this year, and that had Ben Harris leading that team. And then we had your team, which was you mentioned before, but we had John unfortunately had to drop. So we had to replace him with Gerard, who is one of our casual players from Friday nights, and now he's stepped up to competitive. I think he's got that hunger. I think he's had a taste.
Absolutely. I'd just like to jump in and say a thank you here, I guess, not just to Gerard as an individual, but also to the wider club for massively helping my team, the Brush Bandits. Interesting name, but between I think what we had in terms of scenarios and issues and the response we had from the TO population within the club, but then also the wider club as well, trying to help us solve our problems and juggle things around to at least allow, for those that have entered to play and allow our team fundamentally to take part. It was a huge response from the community, and a massive thank you there. And no bigger thank you goes to Gerard, who, as you've highlighted already, very first competitive tournament, very much casual player, ready to step, sort of considering and thinking we're stepping up into the competitive scene. What a player! Huge support to Pete, James, and I. Absolutely outstanding performance with what he delivered within some of his games. And Gerard, if you're listening, another huge, I know I've thanked you many, many times already, but another massive thank you for me. Absolutely brilliant. And it was great to have you on board as well.
Definitely the MVP of the club.
100%.
And the event, I would say, as well. And like I said, some of the results Gerard was able to pull off, a 10-10 into Eldar against the team that came 3rd place. He got a 10-10 into Eldar. That is so wild. As such an achievement. I can barely scrape a 10-10 against Eldar, such an achievement there. So to go from a casual level to playing your first competitive game and then 10-10 in Eldar against the 3rd place team is absolute. It's bananas. Massive achievement there. So big shout outs to him.
It really put another spin on the change of gear for us, I suppose, because as you probably appreciate, I'm sure listeners will as well, we were in a difficult position given for a bit more picture, actually, we had to throw together a list in 10 minutes the night before and change people's factions around and to accommodate Gerard having Space Marines. And we entered the event very much with, some of us were going to try and play for best in faction, but we were there to play games and have fun with, we knew we weren't going to be generating any amazing output from a performance point of view in this. And I'll tell you what, though, after round 1, and we had some tough pairings in that event, but we played Sterngard and the great guys over there at round 1, and tell you what, it was a lot closer than I think we probably all thought it was going to be going into it, and that really changed our gear a little bit. It's okay, this isn't going to be a complete steamroller of an event for us, and I think from that point we all really did. I won't say up our games, but we really put a lot of focus in our pairings and at least trying to put up as best a fight we could. And I'm really impressed and chuffed with how everyone performed in that from a team. And I'll stop talking about my team specifically, so I know this is a much broader conversation. But I think all things considered, we did really well, and I'd like to thank everyone on the team for that performance as well.
Absolutely. You guys did like amazing considering the circumstance that overcame your team. And, Gerard stepping up there, the help out, and, 13th place is nothing to scoff at considering everything that went on behind the scenes. Amazing performance from you guys. A couple of other teams from like kind of our region as well. Tracksuit Mafia with Marty Bourgeois, Alex Price, Lee, and Pumford, and Stephen Russell. The literal Tracksuit Mafia. There is a photo of them somewhere. I don't know where it is. All posing like to GLC in their tracksuits, which is brilliant. We had Rhonda Reavers, Samuel Goodbrand, Justin Williams, Ben Reed, and David Iverson. Coming 17th, 18th place. We had another Ronda team, which, kind of a mix really, because it had Rob Jones on them. The Unbelievable with Jacob, Paul James, and Nathan. And then we had a couple of Five Roads guys come. So we had two kind of mixed Five Roads teams. We had Five Roads to Midnight, Jay and Thomas, led by the absolute pair of gents, John Matthews and Alex Nash. And then we had Five Road Buccaneers, led by Liam Keane, one of my teammates from BO Battle of Britain, with Richard Gaskell, who's an absolute phenomenal Orcs player, Adam Evans, an absolute gent and master painter, who played World Eaters, and David Adams, who actually won Best Painted with his nids, because his nids were on a whole nother level. And I think there were at least like five road guys in the painting competition. That's how they're not just they're like all out generals. They're good players and they're good at hobby as well, and that really shone through. I think another thing to mention as well is the Gumby team. So we were at 19 teams, which meant if we didn't get a Gumby team, which is, for all of you who don't know, that the Noble Gumby is a team of kind of people who volunteer to fill that slot to make sure that one of the teams doesn't have to sit around for 3 to 4 hours, which is, can be pretty tough. You want to be able to play a game every round if you can, so we always try to pull together like a scrap team, which is called the Noble Gumby. So big shout outs to the players there. Jared was originally on that team. He got promoted to you guys, but we also had we had Tony, we had Craig, we had Ben, we had Reese. I think Ethan played one of the days as well, if I'm correct. And Ewan, if I pronounced that right. So big shout outs to them. And also the final shout out, and I think probably the biggest shout out of all, is to the TOs who ran the event, because without them we wouldn't have the event. And yeah, they did an amazing job. Some of them not even 40k players, right? they just came to support us because we had a lot of players in the club playing and participating. So just big shout outs. An amazing event overall.
There's a proper juggling act from them at some points as well, because I suppose as you have with such a large group of people, sometimes the attendance for day 2 isn't always quite what you're at day 1. Illness, commitments, other things like that, and a lot of movement and thinking was going on from the TO pool around. How can we utilise the Gumby team to help fill some gaps and again allow teams to continue in an event where they had a drop for whatever reasons. So yeah, not only was it a very well managed and organised event from a TO point of view, but then there was that additional level of supporting teams as well in continuation and doing a little bit of do a little bit of mental juggling on how to fix and challenge and deal with some problems that came up as well. So yeah, huge effort from the guys there and a really good job.
And I think it's worth mentioning on the back of that is, for a team event, it's even harder, because if you have one team drop, that's 4 players not playing. And in a singles event, sometimes like drops can balance each other themselves out. So if you have 3 drops, you might have one player who doesn't have a game, and you can maybe find someone to just like fill in. Like getting one person to fill that role is much easier than getting a full team of 4 people to do it. especially when you have players from your club who are already competing on a mainstay team anyway. So yeah, it's a huge testament to the TO team and the admin staff behind the scenes. You know, being able to fill that slot for you guys and the Brush Bandits, but also being able to provide games to players when there's been drops and when we didn't have an even amount of teams to be able to run the tournament that way. So yeah, big shout out to the organisation. One of our best by far in terms of turnout, player skill, kind of sportsmanship and painting, but also with sponsorship. I think, and I don't want to be quoted on this, this is a number that flew my way that I'm trying to remember, but I think there was £2,000 of prize support across vouchers, across vouchers, kind of merchandise. We're talking like spray cans from Colour Forge. We've got membership trials from Art of War. We've got KR cases, vouchers for Firestorm. It was just so many prices.
Yeah, it was the I don't know. There's definitely a photo of this out on social media, but the actual table of prizes, everything that was divvied out amongst winners and runners up and everything like that. It was quite impressive. I think it almost filled the entire table at the front of the TO desk, didn't it? It was impressive. It really was impressive.
But yeah, so that's a big overall summary of the event. I guess we could go down into kind of how our teams did and how we did on a personal level. Do you want to kick this off, Sam, with round one? Like, how did round one go for you guys?
Yeah, so I think it's only worth just quickly covering off what we had as a team build-up. After all the changes that needed to happen with the drop we had to mitigate, I ended up playing Battle Sisters. We had James running his Custodies, Pete playing World Eaters, and then Gerard, who joined us, took the mantle of our Space Marines player, running Salamanders, Firestorm detachment. So yeah, that was the team build-up. We really didn't have a lot of prep or reps with that exact group or grouping. My Sisters of Battle list was created the night before the event on the back of the drop. And it was my first time really even meeting Gerard and finding out about his list. Again, was sort of the evening before, so there was a lot of acceptance that there was little preparation with this team build up, going into the event, and again an acceptance that we would live with that and have fun regardless. In terms of personal team performance, then, so our round one was against Sterngard, third place overall at the end. So we knew, personally, I've played these guys before, and we know it's a tough, we know it's a tough game against some really good players. And you know what? We surprised ourselves. It was a loss at the end, but it was only a minor victory. We let the Sterngard take away. I feel like we really fought our corner. There literally probably was only a couple of points in it, tipping it to win 2 or 3 points over the line for them. So across the board, very, very good output. And again, like I mentioned earlier, really gave me a feeling for, do you know what, we're not going to just roll over. We're going to put up a fight in this event, which we absolutely did. Highlight games in that. I'll speak for myself. Firstly, I had a cracking game with Liam. Heretic Astartes against my Sisters of Battle, my 5 Rhino list. It did go in Liam's favour with an 11-9 win there, but still gave me some encouragement that, you know what, Sisters can put up a fight in this. And another massive highlight in that round goes to Jared, as you've mentioned, going into an Eldar list with his Space Marine list and coming out at 10-10 was absolutely outstanding. So yeah, really good round one. Round two, we ran into the Tracksuit Mafia, and we won that round. We had a lot of good pairings within that. One thing I would say for this event, actually, and a massive credit to the wider team as well, but going into each round, we had a plan for our preferred matchups. what we wanted to get out of it, and every single round, the pairings that we got out were exactly what we said we wanted when we went in. So, despite a lot of our challenges, one thing we did absolutely nail in this event, I think, was our pairings. But yeah, we had some very good games in round 2. Some favourable matchups. I managed to play Stephen. Last time Stephen and I played was back in 9th edition, and 3 beat me pretty hard back then. So it was well due time for the sisters to wreak some vengeance. And Pete Pete did the World Eater's Mirror, and I'm not sure how that works in terms of what you'd expect to get, but Pete won comfortably in his match, which combined again with a really strong performance from James and from Jared allowed us to win that round. That put us into Ben Harris's team, Xenos and Friends, for round 3. And again, a really close fought event. We lost again, but I think it was only by 2 or 3 points over the line they claimed the victory. I wasn't too close to some of the games in there. I know that we run Pete's World Eaters into Ben's Orcs, and in hindsight, I guess we took some learnings from that and something that we would look to avoid should the matchup represent itself, I guess, later in the event. It was a tough game for Pete, but he did, he played it as best as he could. And similarly, we had some close games then across the board, with myself and Bryn having a good tiring game to end our day one. But our team of misfits that have been put through the ringer in terms of prep and last minute sorting themselves out. The gods of tournament organising thought, let's throw them another challenge, and then we went into day 2 with our game 1 against Vanguardians, and wow, yeah, that was another tough match for us. But I got to play against Orcs in this match, and that didn't go so well for me. I think Aaron and I have played once or twice before, but absolutely great game. Definitely didn't go my way, but overall we had really strong performances elsewhere across the board. It just ended up as a relatively confident win for the Vanguardians, which was very well deserved from them. And that was it for us. We didn't really get around 5. There was some mix up with pairings. I think we were all geared up to play into Liam's team. I was excited for that. Liam and I seem to run into each other in every event we attend together, and we either end our games on a draw or with a 9-11, either way. So I was quite keen to get in and hopefully play Liam again, as keep the tradition going. But there was some mix up with the pairings, and then after a readjustment, we ended up being placed with the Gumby team, which, as we've already mentioned, had been chopped to pieces to sort of bulk up some drops elsewhere. So it was all Reese by himself against our team at the end. So we didn't all gang up on him 4-on-1. We divvied out some games amongst ourselves and just had a bit of a training exercise for the last round while everyone else was competing for their places. And I think in summary, that's probably enough detail. What I would say is that, again, as a shout out, we all as a group had a really good time. Could we all say the experience could have been better? Absolutely. Was it how we wanted it to go? Absolutely not. Did we still put in a good effort and try our hardest and have fun as well? Yeah, absolutely we did. And that's the story of the Brush Bandits for this year's Brother in Arms. And yeah, who's to say what's going to happen down the line? But hopefully some more consistency, I think, and structure going into an event with fewer curveballs, I think, would be my wish. But like you said, we'll see how it goes. And I guess I'll hand over to you, Nick, 'cause I know you guys had a tough start, but then it all sort of panned out a bit better after that, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, so we drew Ignite. So I don't think I need to go into too much detail on how that went. John did get a 12-8 against the Tau, which is awesome. I got a 218 against Chris, absolute gentleman, playing the Iron Storm Dreadnought spam list. I maybe could have got a couple more points out of that if I played a bit better, but overall it wouldn't have mattered. So Ignite take a nice easy victory there for them. And then we went on to play Vanguardians. So there is some mirroring here. We did. we both ended up playing Vanguardians and Sternguard. So Vanguardians, we did draw that round. I think there was an opportunity to win it. Maybe if things went a bit differently in the pairings, I think we could have maybe won it. Maybe if I had a bit more time in my game, I definitely could have pulled a better score than what I got a 12-8. I think it would have probably been closer to a 16-4 if I got to play out turn 5, because I would have tabled my opponent at that point, but unfortunately time ran out. And then in our last game, we ended up playing against Five Roads, Liam's team. It was quite a good last game because it was quite chill in some ways, playing against Liam's team. Everyone was super nice. And we took a very decisive victory there, with Andy, John and myself 20-0 in, and then Gareth losing to Liam 13-7. So that was quite a decisive end of the day for us. And yeah, it was a good last round for just to chill, and just play with some folks we knew. And then we ended up playing the other Five Roads team straight after the start of day 2. And we did really well on that round. John got a 20-0, Andy got a 17-3, and I got a 16-4. So we were able to do really well in that game with those scores. Gareth did unfortunately get beat by Death Guard quite heavily, but ultimately didn't matter, so all good. And then the last game, Sternguard. So there's a few things here. Now, I got 20-0'd by Liam. Now, Liam and I have played a few times already. We've always had really good games. I didn't give him a good game. I made 2 very critical mistakes that resulted in that 20-0. And yeah, I don't think we would have won the round. I think we still would have drawn. So we had a draw that round. I think the draw would have been the same. I think the most I could have got is maybe a 15-5, and that would have been to Liam. Because the thing with the CSM Votan matchup, and it very much depends on the build. So Liam's build was a bit unconventional because he ran Abaddon, and he ran the Dark Commune with the Accursed Cultists.
Yeah.
So I do play quite well into that build a bit, because I have a lot of blast, but I just made some really bad choices. Basically, not seeing a Forge Fiend. And both of I made a deployment error, and I made kind of 2 bad choices along the way, which involved me just not seeing a Forge Fiend in the middle of the board. It was like I was blind to it. All my decisions I made were made with that Forge Fiend just not existing, basically.
Pretty big, Nick, to be fair.
It was massive. And even Liam pointed out at one point, he was just like, well, just put your dudes behind that wall. I was like, no, I don't think so. It'll be fine, because then I can do this and this and this. And if that Forge Fiend didn't exist, this and this would have been great. But it did exist, and it was right. So, yeah. So that resulted in me getting 20-0'd, and being very disappointed in my own performance there, because I don't think I win that game, but I think I can maybe push a 10-10, a 15-5, 5-15. Sorry, if I don't play like an idiot, basically. But kind of luckily for us, on the flip side, Andy 20-0 the entire player back, so it balanced out in that respect. And then on the other side of things, Eldar beat Gareth 15-5, and then we had 11-9, John beating Dark Angels. So it ended up being a draw. I think the tragic thing about this round for me is if I had played better, and we did somehow get a win, maybe if the stars aligned a bit more, we would have came third. Now, I don't think my result alone was enough to get that third place, to dodge the draw. but at least
Does make you think, though, doesn't it?
yeah, it makes you wonder, right? If I had actually played better and actually not made those mistakes, I could have maybe given us the opportunity at least to seize a win there, even if it's a minor win, to get maybe into that third place slot. I don't think it's guaranteed, but there's a world somewhere in another multiverse where we do win that round and we get third place, but we in the end got 7th. And to be fair to us, our goal once we got paired into Ignite was to get top 8, and we did achieve that. So at least that was achieved. I can't fault that. But there's always that. If only I had not played like an idiot. Is there a possibility we could have podiumed? But yeah, that's kind of our run. We had both Five Roads teams, we had Ignite, and then we had both the Bristol teams. So we didn't actually play any Vale Renegades or any Ronda Renegades during that, which is surprising because we always seem to run into each other eventually. Whereas you actually ended up playing against... was it 2 Vale Renegades teams, or was it one Vale Renegade team? Well, I'll say with like Steve and Marty, and then we had Ben and Bryn from now Vale, and then Newport's Games Club. So you played like between those teams like a whole Vale Renegades, and then like a few Newport guys in there too. So, and that kind of sums up everything from my side. And I would say it's probably the best team and tournament we've had. I think you could agree with that.
In terms of the overall event, yes, absolutely. But I wouldn't. I'd be lying if I didn't say would I have liked things to have gone better for our team. Yes, absolutely. But for all the good things you've mentioned at the start, with the attendees, the size, the contribution, and the effort from Matthias, yes, absolutely, it was the best. There's some things I wish could have gone a bit differently, of course, but needless to say, had an absolutely amazing time, and absolutely looking forward to the next team event.
Yeah, roll on the next one, which is coming up soon. We're still kind of figuring out some of the teams for that. I'm sure that will be worked out soon, but yeah, it's that's going to be a Team Wales ran event in Firestorm. Only 8 teams, unfortunately. I know we have a lot of interest from the club going forward into team events, and hopefully in the future we can find ways to accommodate that.
For sure.
So one team that's kind of already set in stone is an expansion of our Brother Battle of Britain team. So just a quick overview. 6 of us. WTC is 8, so that's why my brain got a bit muddled there. So 6 of us went to Nottingham to compete in Battle of Britain as part of kind of like a trial for the Welsh team. And that included Andy, John McCarthy, Liam Keane, Chris Scriven, and Pete Hillard, as well as myself. So we went up there. So we've decided to continue that team. Most of that team. Sorry, Pete. Going into this other event that's going to happen in January, and build upon that. In a fives capacity at least, and see where we go from there. And then we're going to have another team then from the Renegades, which is currently being decided, which will also be competing. So that's going to be the next team tournament that's happening, and also happening in our region at the start of next year. But one thing that might be quite interesting for that event, which wasn't present here, was a data slate. I don't think there will be one. I think it'll be at the end of January, personally, but GW could surprise us. An AdMech codex and a Necron codex. So there's a few things to shake that up.
Could change, yes, massively so.
Yeah, very much. I think more eyes are on the AdMech codex here, because they were dealt a very, very sad hand with their index. Necron's not so much. Although Necrons are probably one of the worst factions at the moment, due to the nature of the meta. A couple of new detachments that increases their damage output could give them the push they need. I'm looking at you, Destroyer Cult. But yeah, that will definitely shake things up, and maybe we'll see some spicy stuff come from that. And
Yeah,
what else
it's
have we got?
exciting, isn't it? It's always that bit now, isn't it? New edition, new codexes on the horizon, all that sort of stuff. It can be a bit of a rocky road, actually. We did experience 9th edition with, in most cases, the new codex was the next best thing. So what we'll see in 10th obviously very much remains to be seen, but I think as a minimum we can expect, whether it be for better or worse, some element of a shake-up to what we're, I suppose, almost used to seeing at this point, given that we've been running on indexes now for what feels like a long time, but I suppose it's not that long.
It's not been long at all, is it? It feels like we've been in this edition like a couple of years already, and it's like six months tops.
Sure, it's I thought, obviously I've been playing Space Marines, haven't I, predominantly in 10th, and when I had that last minute chuck a sisters list together, it was a bit like, oh wait, I don't have a book to look through? Huh. Okay. And well, I suppose the exception of Space Marines and Tyranids, that's every faction at the moment still, isn't it? And it does, I think that has made it feel longer than it actually is, personally at least, but it's exciting. Unfortunately, none of my codexes are on the immediate horizon, but all change is good if it shakes things up a little bit. So, looking forward to it. Excited to see what comes.
Awesome. So that concludes everything on the team side. Just a quick shout out for the Rumble. So the November Rumble has kind of been locked now. We have 12 players which will compete on the next this coming Saturday. However, there is still time to sign up for the last Rumble on December the 16th. I think we have 5 players so far. So 5 players signed up so far. So if you'd like to get involved, head over to our Discord, head to the events tab, then use an announcement section and get signed up. So that'll be the last Rumble of the last Vale tournament of 2023, and it'll be a blast. It'll be like a Christmas tournament. Come play, have some fun, get some points, and see if you compete for the top 8 of the Rumble for next year.
Yeah, I'm really hoping I'll be there. I won't be at the November one for the first Rumble for a very, very long time. I shan't be in attendance, but someone will be getting married sometime in December, so I might have other things on, but I am hoping I can attend.
I mean, you could always have your ceremony in Firestorm.
Do you know what? I think I might get killed if I suggested that. That'd be a cracking idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe stay alive so you can compete in that. Well, I think that will conclude things for today. Like I said, if you want to sign up for that Rumble, even if you're not trying to get into the top 8, it's just a blast. There's also, now don't quote me, but if it goes anything like the last time, there is actually monetary gain for these Rumbles now. You can win vouchers to buy a product within Firestorm. So if you get within the top 3, you're probably going to get a good chunk of change back, which you can go buy some minis with or some paint. So you can never complain there.
Not at all. We always need more plastic.
Exactly. Awesome, guys. Until next time, I will see you guys at the Rumbles and at the next podcast. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. Bye-bye, everyone.